Hi, I'm Brittney King.
And I'm Lisset King, and welcome to Honest Feedback. We are a podcast for you. We're here to be of service, answer any questions you might have, anything burning inside. We're here for you. And my lovely wife here is a pleasure priestess. And what she does and what she's masterful at is holding up a mirror with love so that you can get the most out of life.
Thank you, baby. Thank you so much. And what my amazing wife is an emotional ninja, also known as a trainer of neuro-linguistic programming. You are so incredible at helping people essentially like reprogram their brains. In the most empowering way. It's fantastic.
I do love to reprogram some brains.
Yes.
Yeah. Today we're going to talk about supporting preteens, teenagers, people who could use some support with their mental health issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because of that, we brought in an expert, and we're really excited to talk to Lauren shortly.
Yes.
Yeah. And
so why would we need to dive into this?
Why do we need to dive into this? I don't know. Have you ever felt depressed or sad, maybe as a child, and like didn't have anyone to help you?
Yes, I did. It's like I want to hide behind my hair. Yes, I definitely experienced a lot of depression as a child and did not know who to talk to about it. I also definitely felt like I always had to be happy, so I didn't want to share it with anyone. How about you?
For me, it really came down to I felt very alone. Like I came from a big family, baby of 6, and everyone was really busy living their own life. I didn't feel very seen in the pain I was having.
Yeah.
I was awkward, and I didn't really have a lot of friends, and it was just a really lonely time. And when an adult came around and cared, it did so much for me. And in a way, it saved my life. So I want to shout out to my sister-in-law, Connie, who was very loving and really saw me during my harder times.
That's so beautiful. I'm really happy that this caller reached out to be able to support her niece. So shall we call Lauren?
Yeah, let's jump on the call.
All right.
Hi, Lauren. Welcome to Honest Feedback. We're so happy to have you here.
Hello. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. Lauren is a marriage and family therapist specializing in trauma healing and spiritual growth coaching. So we're really excited to have her here to answer this question, which has been really hit us in the heart space. And we're like, you know what? Let's bring in a professional to help us. And that's why we called in Lauren. I really appreciate you being here for sure.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here, and I'm excited to lend some experience to this conversation.
Yeah.
Yes. So, how did you get into marriage and family therapy, particularly specializing in the trauma part?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So, keeping it succinct, when I was in college, here's a trigger warning for you guys. I was assaulted, and following that, I got diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and my counselor was the one who helped me not feel crazy. She kind of explained, sometimes she was even explaining things that she could expect me to experience while they were happening before I even had words to put to them, right? And so through that, I became physically ill. The most crazy one was I lost my short-term memory. I was in college and I just started failing exams, 30s. And I was like an AB student without much effort before. So I was really shocked and I didn't really know what was going on. My counselor that I was with for a couple of years was really inspiring and helped me feel safe and known and a sense of connection that I felt like I had lost with tons of other people. And I was largely feeling pretty lonely. And she was just like a bright, shining mile marker week to week or every other week, however often we were meeting, that I really looked forward to. So fast forward from that point in time, it was about 4 years after I wrapped that up that I was like, you know what? I'm not fulfilled. I don't love how I'm feeling. I think there's a next level of healing for me. You know where you can find a lot of healing? Grad school. Which was not my truth, by the way. That was not true for me. But I spent 4 years in grad school to become a therapist, kind of hoping that I would get all the way better, right? I just felt like I had lost some kind of piece of me and I never really got her back. And I wasn't like acutely PTSD anymore, but I still felt really triggered by things and I just felt out of control. So I decided to become a therapist myself to find healing for me, as so many of us do, and also to learn how to help other people the way that my counselor had helped me. Um, and to finish out how I became a coach specializing in the spiritual and trauma healing, I was really disappointed with therapy. As I became a therapist, I was doing play therapy and family therapy, and I loved the experience of it. But at the end of almost a year of work, I could only count on one hand the number of kids and families' lives that I knew we had made an effective difference, that I could see the results, that they were telling me things were better, that we had really made a change. And I remember being really frustrated by that and telling my best friend, I can't do this for the next 50 years. I went to 4 years of grad school. I spent tens of thousands of dollars. I'm miserable. I hate everything. What did I do? And it was in this space that I found my way into a line of training work that I know you guys are familiar with. And it's the I call it the modern brain training, right? The NLP, the modern brain training and spiritual healing work. And there I found my path and my joy again. And I felt like I recovered things that were just buried deep inside of me. They weren't lost, they were always there. They just needed to be set free again. So now I help other people do that.
Yes. Oh, that's so beautiful. Yes.
Yes. Thank you
Thanks.
for doing the Lord's work. We appreciate you.
It really is.
It really is.
Yes. Yes. Everyone living their soul aligned purpose is doing the Lord's work. So thank you for doing your part.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you for asking.
absolutely. Well, are you ready to help our caller? We're going to listen to the call.
I am ready to do everything in my power to be helpful.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Hey, my name is Kim, and I have a question about my niece. So I'm an auntie of 5 beautiful children, and growing up, I never really had a family member I could really talk to about difficult things. So it's really important to me that my nieces and nephews feel that kind of support from me, especially as they're getting older. And my niece is adopted and she's entering her preteens. A lot of fun there. It can be really difficult for a lot of kids, and it certainly was for me. It was no cakewalk, but unfortunately, she's been trying to hurt herself and has been going through bouts of depression. She is seeing a therapist, and they're doing everything they can on the home front to address this in the most loving and delicate way possible. But sometimes I feel like her parents and school put a lot of pressure on her to where she can't fully share her true feelings and thoughts. And I just want so much to be there for her in a way that I really never had. And she's also in a very big household with a lot of kids and a lot of people. And I just know attention sometimes has to go to the younger kids, and she just may feel alone at times. I also have never really experienced anything like she's experiencing. I've never really tried to hurt myself. You know, of course, I've been depressed, but to this level, there's just not a true understanding on my end. And I know she's experienced a lot, and I don't always know what to do other than just be a soundboard and be there for her. And so just wondering if you have any advice on being a good auntie to a beautiful young woman who's just going through depression and has been trying to hurt herself while not really, on my end, not really knowing and understanding the depth of her pain, but desiring so much to have connection and trust with her and let her know that I'm there. You know, just maybe some tips other than just being someone she can talk to. Thank you so much. I love your podcast, and you guys give great feedback. So looking forward to it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of directions that we could go with this. And so many things come to mind. Firstly, I will point out that I also am an auntie to just a bunch of children. And just like you, I am the world's best aunt. So we're all in that together. And I feel that love for those kids, I mean, to a level that I didn't even really know was possible, right? And I don't have children of my own at this point. And how I feel about my nieces and nephews is, I mean, I feel like I could just move mountains for them. So I respect the question about your niece. And to recap, she's a preteen. She's displaying some, we call them behaviors, right? She's displaying some behaviors of self-harm. And she's dealing with some depressive bouts and just overall struggling in life, right? Sounds like she's getting a lot of help and support. And the question, as I hear it and understand it, is kind of like, how can I be helpful? How can I be sure that I'm doing the right thing? How can I be careful and good and present? And how can I make a difference? Right? So these are some of the questions that I hear within the questions. I think it's important to pause for a second and talk about preteenism in general, right? And then we'll kind of shift and talk about the nature of self-harm, answer any questions along the way. So preteenism, oh my gosh. People talk about it like they don't know what's going on, and people say things like, people just forget what it was like to be that age, which is kind of true because we do that on purpose. This is not historically a light and tender, fun age. There are certain developmental things that are going on that have to be acknowledged. And if you can accept them in your heart that this is the reality for most of our preteens, then it makes dealing with a lot of really challenging issues all that more easy. For example, there's these developmental stages generally accepted, and I'm going to get a little nerdy with you if that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
So at about 10 years old, there's a big developmental shift. And then there's another one at 12. And then you kind of see more shifts going on at 15, 16, 17, 18 through to, about 25, right? Kind of see more rapid growth year by year in the brain, into adulthood, as we would call it. So at 10, somewhere between 8 and 10, kids have their first experience of recognizing that the people outside of them are not an extension of them. This is really important. Up until about that age, we all hear that kids are egocentric, kids are all about themselves, and that's completely true. And it's development. They're sponges, they're absorbing, they're taking everything in, they're there to learn. It is their job. Little kids, all the way up until about that age, it is their job. Usually by 10, you can count that kid has started to observe and notice that other people are not them. Other people are not extensions of them. And this, they might start to recognize that those other kids in their class exist. They have their own homes. They don't disappear when I leave school. Right? And so that's happening around 8 to 10 in a really solid way. They're starting to get that. Then around 12, somewhere between that age, one way to describe this major developmental shift is that it's like they open their eyes, not just to the people around them, but to the world around them, to the fact that there is a world around them, and to the fact that that world feels separate from them. And they start to really put words and feelings to the fact that there's a lot of the world that they can't influence. And so, to put it in more simple terms, what I've said to parents of kids that I've worked with is it's like around 12 or 13, if they open their eyes and they look out and they go, what fresh hell is this? That's a bunch of shit out there. Hang on.
Yeah.
Wait a second. If that's what this is about, I don't know if I want to do it.
Wow.
So then we hand them phones and social media, and that's a whole different track.
Yeah.
Because everything that they're seeing online doesn't look like what their life looks like. And you start adding in that extra bonus layer of comparison. Now it's not just the kids at schools with the nicer clothes and the nicer things and the better friends. It's the entire world with the nicer clothes and the nicer things and the better friend.
Wow.
So we have a pretty pervasive problem going on at this age that I want to both normalize, like to some degree it's normal, and also take very seriously. It's not normal that we can flippantly brush it off, but it is okay that they're struggling and suffering and feeling depressed and not knowing where to go in life. A lot of times this is the age that the first time kids start having options. What classes do you want to take? Do you want to change sports? You're going to a new school. What do you want to sign up for? What do you want to be called? They didn't have those options to that level in the past. And if they did have them, they didn't have the brain skills to see that there are consequences with their decisions. They're starting to get things like FOMO. They're starting to get kind of decision paralysis, right? We don't really see that in younger kids as much. So these are a couple highlights on that developmental period that I think are really important to address. We'll pause there and ask, do you guys have any questions? What do you notice?
Blah! You're just like blowing my mind with like these huge developmental stages, because I remember being a preteen, particularly 6th grade, 11. It was like a very potent year, and just being like very confused about so many things. It was like I was going to a new school. It was a new affluent school. I was also one of 2 other people of color in the school. Like, it was just this whole big developmental stage of like feeling like the world was separate, and having that experience and knowing that not only was it like my outward environment, like this was happening inside of myself. Like, people have other families. I am separate than my parents. I'm separate than this. It's nice to know that there are like, one is not alone in the preteenness of like awkwardness, feeling big emotions, and not knowing necessarily how to communicate. And also the thing that super resonated is like, that fucking pile of shit out there, I don't know if I want to do it.
Yes.
I don't know if I want a human. I'm a light being. I came into this body like, I got this. Totally. And then you're like, this is what's here. This hologram is so real. No.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Yeah. Where's the virtual world where I can escape into?
Yeah.
How do I power this down?
Exactly. I remember that being the first. There was some depression before from trauma, trigger warning trauma. And that was always lingering. However, this was the phase where I felt so devastatingly alone. Like, not only were my older siblings, like I was the baby of 6, not wanting to hang out with the 11-year-old in the room. However, I was getting picked on a lot. I had a long, ugly duckling phase where I was like made fun of and all these things. And I remember my brother's girlfriend, who was like my first person that reached out to me and was like, hey, are you okay? And I felt so seen. I felt not alone by this adult caring. My parents were there. They just weren't always there. They were just much older. And so bringing that in, like, I would say my question is, how do you be the cool aunt and support that? Like this caller was asking, like, how do you come in and show them that they're loved? And also, what kind of support can you offer?
Yeah, well, for starters, I'll caveat this.
Yeah.
One thing that Brittney said I thought was really potent as well was that you didn't know how to communicate what was going on for you, right? Which also means that sometimes when adults talk to teenagers, they're using words that don't mean anything to them yet because they haven't lived it, they haven't experienced it. And the truth of it, this is going to start by sounding a little negative, but the truth of it is you can't control that, and you don't know what those words are. So the good news is you can't mess it up, because you're going to mess it up. If you call it messing it up, you're already starting off on the wrong foot. So what you're looking for when you start those conversations is an ounce of attention in return. If you're the one doing the talking as the adult, like saying, how are you doing? And they're like, fine. What do you want to be when you grow up? No, nothing. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
We're just missing the mark. That's all it is, right? So as the aunt, as the supporter, as the curious one who wants to help, the best thing you can do is know that by being near them or texting them or whatever works for how you can connect with them, by being there, you're already winning. Step one, if you're present, you're winning. Step two, if they don't want to talk to you, that's fine. That's totally fine. Just be there, play a game, pull out some cards. Dude, I mean, you as the adult ought to be infinitely more flexible than the child. And if you find yourself feeling frustrated by their quote unquote lack of engagement, forgive me for saying you're just missing the mark. There's nothing wrong with that. Try again. Try something different. It doesn't mean anything about you, and it doesn't mean anything about the kiddo. It just means we're missing the mark. We're missing that connection with each other. What you're looking for to know that connection has landed is eye contact in a flitter of it. Like they're looking at their phone and they look up and make eye contact with you and they look back at their phone. Right? You're looking for eye contact. You're looking for a shift in body posture, maybe slightly even toward you. You're looking for a smirk. You're looking for, like, those are the small signs that you might have landed on something they want to talk about. Especially if they're feeling depressive and they don't want to connect. So the intention with connection is that you're getting that feedback from them, and you can ask them questions like, what's important to you right now? If they're depressed, they might not resonate with the question, what do you like right now? But you could try. If they feel like they don't like anything, what do you like right now? With my teenage clients that really don't want to talk, I actually gain quite a bit of ground by saying, what are you hating right now?
Ooh.
Nice.
Great.
They'll open up. And your response as a listener and an adult is to not negate any of that. Not negate any of that. You're nodding. You're saying, oh, I can totally see that. Like, sure. Well, that is hateable. You're right. Right? If you just reflect back to them and let them be a bit miserable for a minute, they might change the topic, or that just might be all the connection that you get today, and that's a win. A lot of this can sound kind of negative because when we're in a really, think about yourself, when you're in a really negative space and you need the time to be in that space, right? I'm not talking about you've been there 4 days and you're being mean to your spouse, right? Like, this is like, the beginnings of it. You need that time to be in a negative space to work through what's going on for you. It's okay for kids for that to take more than a day. A lot of adults can do that work in a day. Kids might need months. They just don't have the skills, the resources. So think about when you're miserable and you don't want to do anything, and you're supposed to do the dishes and they're piling up, and that laundry sat in the machine for too long and you might have to rewash it, but you still don't go look at it. And you really need to check your bank account, right? Maybe some people won't resonate with this, but these are just examples of normal tasks that go undone. You shouldn't hit the snooze, but you're just miserable. You should go to bed, but you really just want to like sulk and watch one more episode.
Yeah.
If somebody sits down and they're like, hey, what's going on for you right now? What's important? You're like, man, today sucked. Here's all the things in my life that are not going well, and I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And, I'm not having scary thoughts, even though I am, but I can't admit it. I just, I'm in a really bad place. And they were like, well, have you thought about how good your parents were to you? Well, have you considered for like a second that maybe going on a brisk walk could help? Are you getting enough exercise?
Yeah.
I want to flip the table, and I'm the one saying all of it, right? So,
Yeah.
I think the last point on this long breath is they don't need to be fixed. Wherever they are right now is perfect. It's part of their path. And that can be challenging when we're seeing behaviors that are harmful to self. But I would offer you this. A kid who shuts down and plays video games every evening is harming himself, but nobody is stressing about it. But they may be an equal risk factor as somebody who's physically expressing the harm.
Wow.
Kids who disconnect, kids who get bullied online, you may never see that. They're equally at risk. And so I'm not minimizing physical expression of self-harm, but I am saying it is a behavior. It is not who that kid is. And we don't want to encourage it, obviously. However, we don't need to fix it yet.
Hitting us with truth bombs today,
I
Lauren.
know. I know. Oh, I resonate with so much of what you said. The not negating feels particularly important as someone who experienced depression throughout the waves throughout my life. Yeah, when someone tells you to take a brisk walk after you've told them why everything is awful, it's like, die.
Yeah.
You know?
I will take the brisk walk if you don't go on it with me.
Yes. So not negating someone's reality feels very important at this time. Speaking a little more into like the self-harm. Now, we did not get specifications about the particular kind of self-harm, but I know when I was growing up, I experienced disordered eating, which I didn't used to consider a form of self-harm. Now, with more tools and resources, I'm like, that was a form of self-harm. So I am wanting some like clarity around separating the behavior and not knowing that they don't need to be fixed, and also behaviors that are causing harm to self, whether that is food related or physical harm related or mean talking to oneself, like I've overheard kids say things like, oh, I'm just so stupid, and I'm sure that's learned from other people saying that around them. But how do we calibrate on the behavior? And is there a certain point where if the behavior persists for, I don't know, whatever amount, where we need to think about changing strategies or?
Right. This question is so nuanced. I'll give you an example of how that nuance shows up. Protocol in my field and standard recommended behavior for parents follow through or anybody in care of children is that if they demonstrate or threaten suicidal ideas, which can include self-harm at higher levels, self-harm is most forms of self-harm are put you on the risk scale for suicide. Let me say that again. Most forms of self-harm, not all, will put you on the risk factor for the spectrum that leads all the way up to ending your own life. Cool. So they're just considered risk factors. But normal protocol says that if a child threatens or takes an action toward ending their own life, you take them and check them in for 72 hours. This is in Texas, at least. They get checked in, involuntary check-in at a hospital for 72 hours, psych ward. Cool. That's all well and good, except that the vast amount of privilege that it requires to be able to make that choice without fearing incredible consequences is terrifying for parents, right? You could, I know parents who don't want to take that action to get that level of help for their kid because they're afraid they'll lose their kids. Because a hospital bill like that could bankrupt them because they don't trust the hospital in their neighborhood. And so while I'm not negating that protocol for legal reasons, please take your children to the hospital. It's a reality that we're contending with, that parents will sit there and say, I don't want to do that. That comes with a lot of risk. And I'm not convinced that if I do that, it's actually going to help my kid. So now we're dealing with the kid's behavior. We're dealing with the kid's harmful feelings toward themselves, and we're dealing with the fear of the parents. It's a scary situation. And a lot of kids don't get the help that they need for a lot of reasons. So, I mean, the very first thing that comes to mind in these conversations that I have with people at a general level, case by case, it's a lot easier to talk about this. But at a general level is I see for people who have money and live in nice neighborhoods with well-funded hospitals, this is a much simpler choice.
Mm-hmm.
They have insurance, if that covers mental health, if they have. So shifting back to the topic of self-harm, we kind of covered the extreme and why people don't act on that. I do think it is a good idea to go get that level of help. Everything else can be figured out, right? So if you have problems, there are resources. You can Google basically medical scholarships for this type of thing for kids. They exist.
Wow.
Then dialing it back, flip side on that, you have to be kind of a mentally healthy person to even go down that track anyway yourself, to be able to handle that level of paperwork. It's just very overwhelming very quickly. And I think that's what I want to drive home. So I can see why these things happen. I have a lot of compassion for families who lose a member to self-harm and why they, quote unquote, maybe didn't get the level of help that they needed. So backing it up, let's talk about general self-harm, like disordered eating, like physical expressions. A really, I wanted to say a really popular one, but it's popular right now, is cutting. So kids are cutting, and that was present when I was growing up as well. That was kind of getting more and more popular. So they'll usually cut on their arms or their legs or their bodies somewhere that's hideable, somewhere that won't be seen. When I talk with clients about why they're doing this behavior, what drives them to do it, they tend to say just it was something inside of me that had to come out, or it made my body feel the level of pain that my heart was feeling, or that my stomach was feeling. I could feel on my skin. To put again, a conversation that I've had with parents is that sometimes this behavior happens because it's actually grounding. It gets them out of their heads and into their bodies again. It puts them back in their bodies when they feel like they've gone totally numb. I wouldn't call it the healthiest of coping mechanisms, right? But it is a coping mechanism. And we only do coping mechanisms that work for us, even if there are heavy consequences. If we're coping, we do it because it works. I walk my dog 2 miles every morning because it helps me clear my head, and I get exercise and I feel really good and my dog is calm. That's a coping mechanism for an insane dog, stress, and caring about how I feel, right? There are other ways that I could deal with an insane dog, stress, and caring about how I feel.
Yeah.
That are less helpful. So we choose our coping mechanisms because they work, and often because we're not sure that we trust other resources.
Ooh.
Wow.
So the best thing that we can do for kids or people who are practicing self-harm, I joked about the brisk walk earlier. I know, I did. But the best thing that we could do is keep giving them the options. It's kind of like, feeding a toddler. They're learning how to eat and they're learning to like new foods. So you just lay out a bunch of options in front of them over and over and over and over. And eventually they'll pick it. I think current research says that kids need 19 exposures to be willing to try a food and like it. Maybe 14. It's in the teens, and it's a lot more than people are willing to give it.
Yeah.
So same thing with self-harm. Hey, do you want to go for a walk? So as an aunt, if I was going to go support one of my nieces and nephews who were going through this at this age, I'd go pick them up and take them out for lunch. I'd go, if I can afford it, I'd go take them to get their nails done. I'd go to the baseball game. I'd go to the volleyball game. I'd go spend one-on-one time with them, or 2-on-1, grab 2 of the siblings. I'd go give them some kind of special connecting time and just be with them. And I probably am not even sure that I would even try to address the topic at hand.
Mm-hmm.
And if it came up, or if I felt compelled to ask, I would, but I would just be there.
That's incredible. That answers my other question. I had a very personal question, which is, how do you take off your therapy hat?
Yeah.
Because I've been there as well with a niece that was just a little down, and I was like, hey, you want to play guitar? And she lit up. And we learned a sad song together. And I'm like, I love
Yeah.
sad songs too, you know? And it was such a great bonding moment. And also, like, my heart, you know, hurts sometimes. And
Yeah.
I want to help to the capacity that I can help because,
Yeah.
we help adults for a living. And it's like, for me, it's taking off the hat to be just an aunt, you know? And you answered that question perfectly. Just be with them. So we're not
Just
here to.
be. Well, and even sometimes just be with them is annoying advice too, because how do you be? So if you're gonna, how do you be at me? I would offer that they have to want to get better. And they have to want, even as a therapist and still working with several teens, I can't want their well-being more than them. Then I'm running my agenda. And it sounds like a really good agenda. It does. I just want you to be healthy when I'm fixing them. That's their interpretation, right? I just want you to feel better. They don't have to feel better. It's okay to feel sad. It's fine. I just want you to learn better coping strategies. Well, they have to believe that those new coping strategies will help them as quickly as what they're already using. And usually that comes because they need to try it. So what I do with them is I often will take them through an experience of trying coping strategies. We might actually go for a walk if we're doing in-person work. We might, just like you did, pick up the guitar. Music is therapy. We might watch a movie, get out of our own heads for a little bit. So taking off the therapist hat is as simple as checking in to see what they want. And if there's some therapy moment that comes to me that is very therapy-y, but I think it might help them, I ask permission. Hey, I have thoughts about that. Would you like to hear them?
Got it.
And I often add, you can say no, it's fine. And they'll say no. And I'll say, cool, what would you like to do instead? Or they'll say, yeah, okay. And I'll share.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful advice. I mean, I just so appreciate your ability to really give voice to the nuances of this particular question and ways of being of support. Like I feel like this is a lot of information of like how much being present can really be the change that someone needs, and like the ways of showing up in that presence that might be effective and of holding space. So thank you so much. Like,
You're so welcome.
it's amazing.
I have one more thought on that specific topic if you're open to hearing.
Yes.
Please do.
Yes.
This is where the question circles back around to the question asker, right? So if being, and not just the caller, but whoever is looking to somebody else saying, I want to help them. I want to be there for them. I want to show up for them. Cool. Beautiful. Can you show up and be with yourself? Can you be present with just yourself without feeling the need to fix yourself? Can you love yourself even when the days suck? Can you forgive yourself for being a colossal asshole to your partner? Can you, do you berate yourself when you break a dish? If these things are going on for you, it's going to be, you're totally capable of helping other people. One does not preclude the other. Some people say that. I don't believe that. You can be really helpful to other people, even if you're struggling. And your ability to sit and be with yourself will absolutely change the other person's experience of being with you when you're with them. Because there's a sense of safety with somebody who feels safe with themselves. There's a sense of safety with somebody who, you know, part of the reason why and I'm so proud to say this, I am really good at what I do, is because I can sit there and there is not a single thing that you can say that will make me believe that you're not worth something, or that you're less than, or that you were better a minute ago before you said that thing, or I wish you didn't tell me that. There's not anything somebody could say to me as their coach, as their therapist, that would change my view that they're totally good inside, that they're completely whole already, that they have everything that they need, and I'm just here to help them rediscover it. So if you can be with yourself and treat yourself that level of love and stability and security, then your preteen niece and nephew, those kids, they feel it and they just come flocking. Other adults feel it. And the good thing about adults is they will repel themselves away from you if they can't stand it.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, boundaries are easier, right? Because you don't have to enforce them as much. And so becoming safe with yourself, whole with yourself, treating yourself with respect and dignity and love that you deserve, means that you'll be that much more able to be patient and present with other people that you love and want to give that gift to as well. So work on yourself. Hire people like Lisset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the help that you need.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I'm just blown away by you. I've known you for a little bit now, and we've just had such a beautiful connection, and to feel you in your truth, in your gift, it's just so profound. How can people reach out to you if they need support?
That's a great question. So the most reliable way is through email. Just send me an email. Hey, heard the podcast. Would love to connect. And I'll reply back. My email is lauren@laurenpennington.com. lauren@laurenpennington.com. I do have a website, www.laurenpennington.com. And, but you know, that's been a challenge, keeping it up and running and acting like a website should. So the email is probably the most reliable. And then we're coming toward, I'll give a little plug if you don't mind.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm developing my program. It's Whole Health Mastery. And we are doing our spiritual, our mental, our emotional, and our physical work, partnering with some scientifically backed processes to help people grow and overcome, get all the support you need in all 4 areas of life toward any goal. Goals are way easier to achieve. Aims, desires are way easier to achieve when you have levels of support on all of those levels. So we're meeting them all. Come on in. We'd love to have you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And is that for adults or for adults and children?
It is for adults. I would not be opposed to kind of older teens participating in this. Again, the main thing I would say is you just got to want it, right? Yeah. But if there's a teenager, 16, 17, 18, that is interested in pursuing this type of growth work, I'm happy to have that conversation with the parent.
Fantastic. Well, we are going to put all of these resources in our show notes so you all know how to find her. Thank you so much for being a part of our community and a pillar of light in this world.
Yeah, we would love to have you back as well.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. You could say that again. Wow.
Lauren was incredible.
Incredible. Okay, so just to recap what the gems that she gave us, also do a rewind, do a rewatch, because I think I got most of them. So 1, if you're present, you're winning. Being present for the person. And if they don't talk, it's okay.
Yeah.
You're just missing the mark. And that's okay.
Yes.
Nothing to beat yourself up on. Just, it's okay. Don't negate. Not to negate. So when you're using one of those fabulous questions she had, what are you hating right now? and they're like, I hate this and I hate that.
Yes.
And like, this is awful. Don't negate their reality. And they don't need to be fixed.
Yes.
They don't need to be fixed. We just let's take that to everyone.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And keep giving them options. Keep giving them options. So that was just 5 of the many, many points that she really dropped up. But I feel like I got the big
big action points.
Yeah,
that
the
we
big
can do.
umbrellas. Yes, that one can do and take when you're trying to support someone in any situation, and particularly if there is a mental health situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt so seen. My inner preteen felt so seen by Lauren. I was like, wow, if someone would have talked to me like this and just made it okay.
Yes.
You know, the It Gets Better campaign. You know,
Yes. Well, also how beautiful that you actually kind of modeled that with your niece without even knowing this official tool.
yeah.
Yeah, you were just like, it's all okay. We're going to pick up the guitar.
We're gonna learn a sad song together, and it's gonna be great.
Yes. Yes. I'm in the mood to cry. I might make some crying tea later and just sit there and cry.
And we can listen to sad music if you're into it.
I would be into it. Yes.
Fantastic.
Okay, we're
Our
gonna get sad.
preteens, our preteens are gonna allow ourselves to be sad
Yes, sad
and not
gal.
fix anything.
Yeah.
And just be.
And just be okay with just feeling. So this was just a revolutionary experience to be able to speak with her wealth of knowledge and her wisdom. And yeah, if you guys need to reach out to her, her information is in the show notes.
Absolutely. Yes. She's an expert, a master of her craft. And yeah, she's here to help. I feel that absolutely from her and my experience in the real world with her. She's just phenomenal and hilarious.
Yes, she was very funny. You guys,
Yes.
in the pre-talks, we were talking.
Yeah, she's good for a chuckle here and there.
Yes, absolutely. Well, if anybody else would need support from us, we would love to be of service to you. You see, we call in experts, y'all.
Yeah.
Things are happening here in the Honest Feedback land. Our number is 971-895-4111. Leave a message with your name, your pronouns if that feels good to you, and your question.
Yeah. And if you're looking for like an extra layer of anonymity, you can also email us a question at thekings@honestfeedbackpodcast.com.
Yes. We will have your email address, but
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We won't spam.
Yeah.
We're just here to answer your questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that was something. And until we meet again, be honest with each other.
Yay.